Hello and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jonathan Giles. On the show this week, we'll be reviewing a 1-0 away loss to the Magpies, a VAR-ridden match. I think we'd all agree. Also on the show, we'll also be having a quick look ahead to the Burnley match, which is on this coming Saturday on Premier Sports 1. So sit back and enjoy the show. On the show this week, I'm joined by my regular guests at this stage. First of all, to Eamon Donnelly. How are you, Eamon?
Evening, Jonathan. Had a bit of corned beef there, and some Arvavelli spaghetti there. We found 3 Zs in it. 3 Zs. I'm okay. I'm not the better for Saturday night, but we'll go through all of that, you know. We'll go through all that. We've a lot to get through.
Good to have you on, Eamon, again, and thanks for coming back on. I'm also joined by my UK-based Gooner, and it's great to have him back for the first time this season. Carl Ozzy Osborne, as he's better known as. How are you, Carl?
I'm good, mate. It's good to be back. It's good to see
Good to have you back. I'm hope all as well on your side, Carl. It's good to have you back.
Good.
The listeners have been asking for you, and Daddy Ozzy as well.
Okay, back on. Honestly, mate, it's been great, and I've been watching and love the shout outs, mate. Appreciate it. I missed you all, guys. Missed all of you. So great to be back.
Cheers, Karen. Great, good to see you well, and it's good to have you back again. Also this week, I'm joined by a special guest. As you can see, he's wearing the Magpies colours. It's Alan Williamson from the Irish Mags, Newcastle United Supporters Club here in Ireland. How are you, Alan? And welcome to the show.
Hang on, just
great.
Just get me forearm warmed up, you know.
So it's good to have you on, Alan.
Thank you.
And your supporters club is going from strength to strength.
God, he's frozen again.
You can hear me all right, yeah? Yeah. So it's good to have you on, Alan. How is your supporters club going in Dublin?
Well, it started out just Dublin, and now we've absolutely swelled into nearly 400 of us in a WhatsApp group trying to organise meetups in Dublin, Cork, Galway, Derry. Come here, if you're know any Newcastle fans, send them my way, and I'll get them into the group. Come here, we're just getting bigger and bigger, but that's to be expected. It was doom and gloom this time 2 years ago. Now we're playing the Champions League game tomorrow night, so what more could you ask for?
Yeah, it's super, isn't it? We met in the Camden Bar, wasn't it, for the live score event in May? Yeah, it was good banter then, and it was great to meet you as well.
Thanks, man. Same to you.
It's great to have you on, and I'll be more than welcome to come on your show in February when we meet. But I was just thinking today, you could be in the Kerning Cup final that day. That's the day we play us.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, heartbroken. I might have to be over in London for that. So.
Sure, pop by to the London Supporters Club. You might change to a Gunners fan. Who knows?
So not anytime soon. Anyway, if I've lasted this long back in my jersey, I'm not changing now.
A Magpie never changes his stripes. Fair play. So we might as well crack on, lads, to the review of Saturday's game. 1-0 defeat, of course. Anthony Gordon got the winning goal for Newcastle United. A few key notes I just wrote down myself, and I'm sure Ozzy and Eamon and yourself, Alan, will have a few things to say as well. So on my side, it was Eddie Nketiah's 100th Premier League appearance for the Gunners on Saturday. I didn't even think he got up to that many, but fair play to him. And he's having a fairly good season, you know, with Jesus out at the moment. Key notes really, Kai Havertz's dangerous run and Sean Landstaff was probably lucky to get a yellow card. You know, it was quite silly tackling, you know, but the season he's having at the moment for the Gunners, I think that's just all the frustration kind of coming out at the moment. And that led to Longstaff, Sharon Gordon all getting yellow cards for Newcastle United. So 4 yellow cards in one incident. So fair play to Kai. Then there was the Keemaresh elbow on Jorginho near the end of the first half, which didn't get any card at all, which was surprising. I thought it probably deserved a yellow. In the second half then, it was the Anthony Gordon goal and there was 3 kind of key decisions here that kind of VAR messed up on. The ball was out of play before Joe Willock got to it. I thought, from the pictures I've been seeing in the papers, it looked like it was well over the line. The second one, Raya completely misjudged it when the cross came over. So it was another header by Raya again. Joe Linton pushed, I thought, into Gabriel. Could that have been deemed as a foul? I think it possibly should have. And then was Anthony Gordon offside? Was the third. And it's VAR's, it's just been a mess, to be honest, this season compared to last year. I think it's even more of a mess. But that led to the goal. It was allowed. And then Guimaraes got a yellow card for holding on to Vieira's throat, which was a yellow. That was near the end of the second half. So all in all, probably a 1-0 defeat was probably, I thought a draw probably at best. I think would have been good for both sides. It was a scrappy enough game. There wasn't really much goal mouth action end to end really in either half, but very disappointing. Since you're our guest tonight, Alan, what's that for yourself?
Personally, from my point of view, it was a cracking game of football between 2 very, very competitive sides that we edged. Don't get me wrong, Arsenal were very good, but you cannot go to any team and have one shot on target and expect anything out of the game. Kai Havertz ruined that game for you. That stupid tackle got the crowd up against you, it's got the team up against you. It just basically woke the whole of Newcastle back up, kicked us right back into gear and got us back to where we needed to go. Don't get me wrong, the Bruno, I honestly have no idea what he was doing there. I personally think that was a red card, but I think because Havertz didn't go, Bruno didn't go. So it was the ref who made a rod for his own back there, and it kind of ruined the game in the long term, because you don't want Havertz to be sent off after 25 minutes. You don't want Bruno to be sent off after 45 minutes. And then you have both teams that are having to try defend. And come here, I don't understand what Arteta sees in David Raya. He's a calamity. Honestly, he's poison. That cross that Willock whipped in, he should be getting anything to it, and we don't score that goal. Ball didn't go out of play. There's plenty of angles that prove that the ball didn't go out of play. Even if it did, Jorginho and Ben White are pointing at each other saying, you go to him, you go to him, you go to him. One of you go to him. One of your defenders had to come out and send Joe Willock into the stands. Give the free, give anything, just get rid of the ball. At the end of the day, 2 players pointing at each other telling someone has to go to him. It's not good enough. I thought you were very, very passive. You didn't create enough to warrant getting anything out of the game. Don't get me wrong, Newcastle didn't create a whole heap, but what we did create, we took, and that was the end of it. I do think it was a good game, though.
Yeah, it was a scrappy game. Usually the performance, the games against Newcastle, they're end to end and plenty of goals in it, but this one was one to forget. I thought our Carabao Cup tie against West Ham was bad. I thought that was even worse. They were probably the worst 2 performances under Arteta that I've seen in a long time, and hopefully it's not the cracks appeared now under him, because there wasn't much. I didn't see much of a fight in Arsenal on Saturday at all, and that would kind of worry me, I don't know what it is, and hopefully it gets ironed out, but starting from Saturday against Burnley, you'd hope that you'd be back to winning ways again at home, So in your view, Alan, before I come to Eamon and Ozzy, do you think the goal should have stood in from a Newcastle, obviously from Newcastle's point of view, do you think it should have stood though hand on heart?
The way I look at it is the referee gave that goal. VAR spent 4 minutes and 16 seconds trying to disallow it, and they couldn't because there was no clear and obvious error. The ball didn't go out of play. Gabriel is 6'4" and should be burying that header out of that box. He went down like a ton of bricks. The offside was inconclusive. You can't spend 4 minutes trying to disallow a goal and then say, we've been robbed. You weren't. They tried to disallow the goal and nothing came about it. The goal wasn't a great goal. It was a poor enough goal to concede. And as I said, David Raya.
Yes.
Dracula. Terrified across.
Yes. I think we'll all agree here. Ramsdale is the number 1 at Arsenal. I don't know what.
Ramsdale was terrible against West Ham.
Look, he hasn't had a run of games neither, Eamon, and that's those nerves. But
He was terrible against West Ham. Awful.
Arteta out, I've cried for 4 years. And
let's have some serious conversation now. And not
No,
all this
to be honest,
sensationalist nonsense.
let's be honest, Eamon. The last 2 performances were woeful.
Yeah, but
Can't get away with that.
Hold on, Jonathan.
I think the cracks are
Stop
starting
all
to
this shock jock nonsense.
The cracks are starting to appear in
Stop
our
all this shock jock nonsense. The performance on Saturday was not woeful.
I haven't seen
it wasn't woeful at all.
But that's look, everyone's entitled to their opinions.
Well, then you might just ask me mine, and I might give it to you then.
As Annan is blushing there because Eamon's drinking beer Moretti.
Well, I've had one can of beer Moretti, Jonathan. I'm quite capable of proffering an opinion about my beloved Arsenal without cans of beer Moretti. So you might get around to asking me what my opinion is.
With Eamon's ignorance, I don't come to you, Ozzy, until he cleans his mouth out.
Okay, right. Well, sorry, Eamon. I've been called out now. But look, for me, I'm gonna define it in one sentence. For me, I think if there's ever a game where you looked at 2 away sides playing each other, that's what it looked like on Saturday. Both teams played like an away side. Newcastle didn't go to win it. Take Alan's point about Newcastle deserved to win it. You had one chance, Wilson, and that was offside. That was your one chance. We had Rice, a random header, which went just wide. They were the 2 chances in the game. Other than the goal, they were the 2 chances really both sides had. Both teams played negative, defensive, and it had 0-0 written all over it. The VAR, I'll take Alan's point on about Raya. I think Raya should have got to it. So we wouldn't even be having this conversation now about VAR if Raya would have got to it. I do think he should have dealt with that. Would have Ramsdale? I don't know. The positioning of the goalkeeper near the near post when that cross came in was awful. And you're not a goalkeeper, but when you look at that, he was at the near post when that ball was put to the back post. He had too much ground to make up, didn't make it, and then any other time he just collected that ball off the top of Joel Linton's head or Gabriel's head, whoever it was. So going on to that's just my take on it. I think it's a very negative match. I think both sides. There's lots of talk about how well Newcastle played defensively. Not much highlight on the way Saliba played. I thought Tomiyasu and White were all solid as well. I didn't think they were awful. I didn't think White had much to do, but certainly Saliba was a fantastic player that game. The point to make about VAR, I'm just going to sum it up really, to be honest. The ball being out of play, inconclusive, you can't give it. The sphere of the ball, I get it. The camera angles are not right. They can't just make a punt on that. But the get out of jail card for me, for the referee and VAR, was the push. And if you're telling me that's not a push, then I'm sorry, mate. Gabriel, okay, yeah, he goes down easy, but as an extended arm, there's a push in the back.
But he also stoops to head the ball. You can't stoop to head the ball.
No, the thing is, he's trying to rise his head back up, and he can't because his arms are extended. Extended arm, you're not going to push an extended arm. Arms don't bend that way, mate. Once they're extended, arms don't bend that way.
It wasn't a push.
But
3 professional referees looked at it and said it wasn't a push.
It's an opinion, and I'll tell you what: if a PGMO come out and say, give us an apology for it, mate, you owe me a beer. Because
the PGMOL have already said they stand by their decisions made in the match.
Well, they would because Arsenal made a statement. So we're at war now. But I mean, I don't agree with you, Alan. But I'll cover that in due course.
So the push for me, personal opinion, I think that's pushing. It's an extended arm. Once you've extended your arms ain't going to bend that the other way. So if Gabriel wants to go and head that ball, he can't do it. It's basically impeding him from heading the ball. The offside again, they didn't have the right camera angle. All that money that Saudi have got, they can't afford to buy some decent cameras on the stadium. I think you're getting away with it, mate. I'll be honest with you. You need to buy yourself some decent cameras. But hang
on, you're going down the Saudi money route already.
But no, we'll talk about that.
Our fans aren't racially abusing other teams' players.
I'm just saying. But no, you need to invest in some decent cameros on there because
that's Sky Sports. That's nothing to do with us.
You might just allow Arsenal fans to speak on an Arsenal podcast, Alan, if you don't mind.
You brought me on to have a conversation, so
but we don't interrupt each other on this program.
Right. So anyway, I'll move on. So from the cameras couldn't conclude the offside, and again, I think the offside. I think there was 2 get out of jail cards there for the ball being out. Like I say, I completely understand that. Okay, so we go on. that's my take on VAR. I think the goal should have been disallowed. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking by it. I think most out of those 3 incidents for me, the push is the blatant one. The other 2, I'll get
In
it.
fairness, Ozzy, before you go on, it wasn't the push in the back. It was the ball. It was out of play before Willock got it, so it should have been from the first motion.
I'll be honest with you, mate. I can see the ball.
It can't be. They said it's 99% in play. The ball is visibly out of fucking play in the newspapers. No. Like, they've got ex-referees in VAR shouldn't be allowed. Bring in ex-players that know how to fucking play the game.
But my opinion, John,
there's dodgy bungs has to be going on in this.
I can understand the ball being out of play. I can understand the offside decision. I just can't understand the push. That's the only one I've got an issue with. And that extended arms don't bend backwards like that. Once you've got your arms out, Gabriel, if he wanted to try and head that ball, he could do it. He went down easy. I got him in it.
I think he was looking for it as well, as he, he's stronger.
9 times out of 10, that's disallowed, in my opinion. And I think if Newcastle fans were honest about it, I think if it's the other way around, I'd ever feel very aggrieved by that situation as well. I'm going to move on from that because that's subjective. We've all got different opinions. We've got different opinions, and I respect your opinion, and I hope you respect mine as well for that. In terms of the Havertz incident, I've got to be honest. It was a Granit Xhaka moment, wasn't it? And I'll be honest with you, that was the last thing you wanted an Arsenal player to do in St James's Park, was to do a tackle like that, because like Alan rightfully said, it raised everyone's game up. We've slagged Xhaka off for doing it in the past, and I've got to be honest, I was fuming with him. He's lucky to stay on the pitch, and I do think it was evened out with the forearm smash that was straight from the WWE from Bruno, because I thought Bruno was he was a bully that day. There's no 2 ways about it. He was a bully. It was off the ball incidents, there was stuff like that. But you know what? You've got to stand up to them, and Jorginho didn't, in my opinion. I thought he lacked a bit of physicality there. And I think I've put in my notes, so Jorginho got bullied there, and there's no 2 ways about that. Other than that, the only thing I'm going to note before we go on to Eamon's view, so I know we're short on time, but what all I heard about the media in the lead up to this game was Newcastle have got so many injuries. They're so down on players and stuff like that. So am I right? Alan will correct me. I'm sure you will. But Harvey Barnes, Isaac, Anderson, Targett, and Botman all out, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So five injuries. Arsenal injuries. Gabriel Jesus, Timber, Odegaard, Partey, Emile Smith-Rowe. Not a thing was said about Arsenal being under strength.
That's because you have a hell of a lot better squad than we would have.
Just saying, Gabriel Jesus, Timber, Odegaard, Partey, all starting 11. All starting 11 players.
Isaac, Barnes, Botman are basically the spine of our team that we were missing.
Yeah, but so is Odegaard, so is Thomas Partey, so is Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, but you can bring in players like
Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah,
would he get into Newcastle?
Eddie Nketiah, we bring in Miguel Almiron. Like we don't have the.
Would Eddie Nketiah get into Newcastle? Would Eddie Nketiah start for Newcastle?
Absolutely not. We've got Isaac. He's injured. We've got Wilson.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, Odegaard is our key player. Just let me just say my point. What I'm saying is that all the media focused on the injuries that Newcastle had. There's 5 Arsenal players there. Well, 4 if you put Emile Smith-Rowe out of that, because he's not a starter. There's 4 players there that have all started that game if they'd be fit. And I don't think that can be denied. If I'm honest,
which is 6.
Yeah,
so.
Okay, but that's down on him, isn't it? But you know what I mean. That's just what I'm saying. That's my opinion.
Relevant. They weren't playing.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, I'm just saying that the media focus on the Newcastle side being under strength. There's not a mention of Arsenal.
Media hates Arsenal. They always did since the 1930s. It goes back, 90 years.
Anyway, that's my take on it, John.
Yeah. It was still a strong enough. It was still a strong enough Arsenal team to beat Newcastle. We just didn't turn up.
We need to respect them more than that, Johnny. I think it was it was an easy game.
That's been pretty much the 11. Ozzy,
I just took a point at the start of the game
last year. I just don't think they're up on the level of last year.
And let's just make it very clear. Like, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Arsenal should have won the game. They didn't do enough to win the game on Saturday. So let's just make that very clear. But to get a point, they deserved a point, in my opinion.
Yeah. A draw would have been a fair result.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Considering how bad we were and Wednesday. But I'm going to come to you, Eamon. You're a lifelong Gooner. What was your opinion from the whole game Saturday?
I need to do this block by block if I can. So first of all, I was playing on Sunday morning a game myself, and I was talking to a Newcastle United supporter, a friend of mine, and his opinion was the game should have been 0-0 and it should have been 10v10. Yeah. And I absolutely agree with that. Right? Let's start with the Havertz incident. First of all, Havertz is not the type of player who knows how to hurt people. There are certain players who know how to hurt people and others who don't. It was a clumsy lunge. He left himself a very lucky boy not to be sent off for that. But if that was a guy who knew how to hurt you, he could have got away with a yellow card, hurt you. For example, Dan Burn knows how to hurt you. He went through the back of Bukayo Saka twice. And I'm sick and tired of Bukayo Saka getting kicked off the park and no admonishment for any player whatsoever. It happens every week. He's one of the game's great talents. And every single week, without impunity, players just go through the back of him. But it's okay because it's just Saka sitting down again. So that's the first thing, right? I think Havertz was a lucky boy not to be sent off. The second thing, I'm going to talk about Bruno for a second. I'm going to read the definition of violent conduct. It says, when a player uses or attempts to use excessive force or brutality against an opponent when not challenging for the ball, whether or not contact is made. Whether or not contact is made. Now, that's the laws of the game. And you have these Mike Riley pricks saying that ex-players like Paul Merson don't know the laws of the game. That's the law of the game. Bruno Guimaraes should have been sent off. Right? And if that was Granit Xhaka, think back to Burnley behind closed doors when he simply put his hands on somebody's chest and he was sent off, and it was, oh, Xhaka is a stupid boy. Once you raise your arms in football, it's a red card. How many times have you heard that? Absolute bullshit. But they looked at that on the screen and they said, because he caught him with his forearm and not his elbow, it is the greatest nonsense. And that's what worries me about VAR more than anything else. I think Mark Clattenburg's views on the whole thing was very interesting in that he said that because Havertz had raised the tempo and Newcastle, and I thought it was petulance, by the way, to get 4 players booked for, they'd want to calm that down. Great respect for Newcastle, great respect for Eddie Howe. That was just nonsense, right? It was like the duck chorus. But what Clattenburg was saying was that the referee, in order to keep the tempo moderate, didn't send Guimaraes off. That's not a reason. The player has either been guilty of violent conduct or not. So in my view, Havertz probably could and should have been gone, and Guimaraes certainly should have been gone.
Well,
the next point I'd make is that that game was a draw all day. I don't think we did enough to win the game, and I'll explain that in a minute. Newcastle were very, very energetic, but as Carl said quite rightly, both teams played it like an away game. And you know what? That tells me that a point would have been a good result for either team. So you move on from that to the goal. I agree with Alan. You cannot tell that the ball is out of play because of the Japan thing in the World Cup changed everything. It's not like tennis where you have a shadow and you have the line. I think the ball was out of play, but you couldn't say for certain, right? What happens then is Raya thinks the ball is out of play. White thinks the ball is out of play. They get themselves into the wrong position. So Gabriel is left like a sitting duck in the middle of the box. Gabriel tries to head the ball, and if that's not a push, well then, no, hold on, now you've had your say, right? If that's not a push, well then I'd hair like Robert Plant or Led Zeppelin, right? And I'm going to tell you why. I was at Leicester last year. I stood in the terraces. I feel cheated over what happened on Saturday. I stood on the terraces at Leicester. Leandro Trossard curled in a beautiful goal from 20, and we all jumped around in frenzy. And it was disallowed because Ben White, for a split second, had put his hand on the goalkeeper's arm. So if you want to go back to the days in that loft house in Bolton, bundling the goalkeeper out of the stadium, grand, that was a push. All ends up. And as Ozzy said, it was a push, all ends up. His hands are on his back. Gabriel got himself in a bad position, tried to get back up to head the ball, and couldn't because the hands were on his back. And there's nobody will convince you can do all the nothing you like. There's nobody will convince me. I didn't interrupt you. There's nobody will convince me that was not a push. And then not to have a line in this day and age to see was it offside. And by the way, it was clearly offside because the goalkeeper was way ahead of where the scorer was. Way ahead of where you didn't need a line to see that. Stevie Wonder could have seen that. So the decision was wrong. It was disgraceful. And the problem I have with it is we should be talking about a not very exciting goal-mouth action game, but a game that was full of blood and thunder. A game that the English League thrives on more than any other league. And what are we talking about now? We're talking about the Howard Webb circus of VAR once again. What happened to Liverpool against Tottenham was absolutely disgraceful. And I'm no Liverpool fan. It was absolutely disgraceful. What happened to us on Saturday was disgraceful. The manager was right in his comments, and I'm glad that the club, well, Alan, you can nod your head all you like. I'm proud that the club came out, because what normally happens in these instances is that the manager gets left hung out to dry and ended up paying a fine. And the club came out and backed him, right? And I'm very, very pleased about that. Now, the reason why Arsenal weren't good enough to win the game is as follows. Ozzy touched on it. When you don't have Odegaard, when you don't have Smith Rowe, you have nobody to play through the lines. And for as good and all as Declan Rice is, he cannot do that. He doesn't have that in his locker. And to my mind, every time Martinelli got the ball, he was two-teamed. Every time Saka got the ball, he was two-teamed. You cannot play 4 against 2 and not leave gaps. It's impossible unless we're not moving the ball quick enough, right? So if Saka is double-teamed on one side, the ball has to get over to the other side as quick as possible before everybody can shift across. We didn't do that. What we did was we arsed about getting it back to the centre-backs, getting it across the pitch. We took 10 passes to switch from Saka to Martinelli, and you either play through the lines or you go outside. It's simple. There's only 2 routes to go. One is through the lines and one is out wide, right? And if you can't get through the lines, we didn't have players of the guile to do that. So if you're gonna do it on the outside, you've got to do it quickly. Newcastle were fantastic defensively, and their attitude was unbelievable. But I think where you're wrong, Jonathan, is this nonsense that we didn't fight. Yes, we did fight. Yes, we did fight. And there was plenty of fighting. Hold on a second now. I'm not finished yet. You asked me my opinion, I'm going to give it to you. Hold on a second, Jonathan.
You can't be shooting everyone down for their opinion either, Aim. Everyone's entitled.
No, but you see, on this show, you asked me my opinion, and I'm in the middle of giving it. So you give yours in a minute.
I said before, and I say again, Arteta isn't good enough for Arsenal, but that's.
Oh my God! Well, in that case, there's no point in asking me for my analysis, because if we're going to talk absolute horse shite, Finglas South is the place to be, and I'm a Finglas man.
Look, he won't see it out for another season or 2, but that's my opinion on it.
Sweet Jesus! All right, okay.
Well, here's a question then.
Grand.
If VAR wasn't in this season, would that goal have been given?
Yes.
Well, here's another question that I'd ask Alan in particular. Do you think that goal would have been given if we'd have scored it up the other end in St. James's Park? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Come on, let's get real.
The referee gave the goal. VAR tried to disallow it, found they could not disallow it, and had to go with the on-field decision. That's what happened. That's not me making stuff up. The referee gave the goal. VAR looked at the ball was out of play. They couldn't determine it was. It's now been proven that the ball didn't go out of play. The push is the only one that you're really going to get anything out of it. The push, Saliba got into a wrong position. He tried to jump through. He stooped down. Gabriel. He stooped down, tried to jump back, with someone on his back, basically. Doesn't work. If you're a defender, you're 6'4", you're in a Premier League match, one slight bit of contact does not mean a free kick.
Okay.
It's a contact sport.
Have you played the game, Alan? I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you allowed to propel yourself off somebody's back when you're heading the ball, whether you push them or not?
No,
you're not. No, you're not.
Stupid.
No, you're not allowed to propel. You're not allowed to propel your jump with your hands on somebody's back.
Honest question, Alan. If this was against Newcastle, would you feel aggrieved by it?
I would feel aggrieved, but I
rest my case. That's
right. Every single time.
You're basically saying you'd be aggrieved by it if this was against you. Would you say? Would you just admit it?
But it's why it's given. Like you're taking the mick here. Like at the end of the day, Arsenal have come out as if that they're the only team ever to have been done by VAR. Every single team in the Premier League has had a couple of negative decisions go against them by VAR. If you want our example, the most obvious and glaring one last season for us, we've had a couple this season already. Joe Willock was pushed into the Guaita, the Palace keeper. The Tyreek Mitchell scored an own goal, but because Willock was pushed into Guaita, the goal was disallowed. Everyone and their granny went, that's a ridiculous thing to give a free out about, because he's been pushed into the goalkeeper by a defender. It's either a penalty or a goal, and you've somehow given a free out. Did Newcastle release a statement saying, I want to
make one thing clear. There's nobody on this show saying VAR is anti-Arsenal.
No.
But I'm just saying that Saturday, we're on this show talking about VAR, and VAR has turned out to be a joke. I'm going next weekend to the Aviva Stadium to watch Bohemians and St. Patrick's Athletic. And do you know what? I'm looking forward to a game that there's no bloody VAR. And if the goal goes in, it goes in. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And they either give it or they don't. Because I've had enough of VAR. I feel cheated as a fan. I pay good money to go over week in, week out. I do.
Eamon, the problem is the fans should be able to hear what's going on at Stockley Park. Like,
but they don't, because they don't.
But then it's not fit for purpose. Isn't that the argument?
I think the question is,
but the biggest farce is these referees that are in Stockley Park are the referees that were Poxy as a ref on field years ago. Why are they being given a chance? Why isn't it from the outside?
But Jonathan, they wheel out Howard Webb with that gobshite, Michael Owen. Absolute gobshite. You'd get more insight off a Gnat on speed than you do off Michael Owen. And that's their idea of transparency. And I keep saying it. I'm not a rugby guy. I wasn't born in a rugby environment. I'm from a working class north side background. But boy, Jesus, when I watch rugby, there's never controversy about the TMO.
There's such more complex.
Everybody can see what's going on.
And here at what's going on, which is the key.
Yeah, and by the way, on the rugby, and I'll finish on this because, you're right, Alan, we're having a conversation. We're all passionate about our clubs, and I get that, right? Yeah. That's not lost on me. And, you're more go back, and that's all good. But you never see a rugby show with say, Johnny Sexton and whoever the referee might be, we're going through decisions. Because VAR have now positioned themselves in the game where they become the centerpiece, the center of attention. They're on TV. It's Hollywood, and it was never meant to be that. It was supposed to eliminate bad decisions.
Unless it's Wayne Barnes.
What's that?
Unless it's Wayne Barnes.
Wayne Barnes. Well, yeah, unless it's Wayne. Well, Wayne Barnes actually should be on the pig maul,
Yeah. The first major one was Luis Diaz incident, wasn't against Spurs, and now this, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse though, week by week, consistently, where it should be getting the opposite, isn't it? VAR is just not working in the Premier League, and it should be scrapped. It should be just
this week. It'll be another club in another couple of weeks, and we'll go through. If we had this at Brentford last season, massive game,
what is the answer then? Should VAR continue?
I think they need to, in my opinion, I don't see the benefit. I think it's ruining the game, but I think goal line technology, absolutely. The technology is out there. The application of it, maybe they need to get ex-players in. I don't know. It's just something needs to change, because I'm not saying, it is. I know what Alan said, but it's not anti-Arsenal. Every club will go through this at some point in the next 10 years. Yeah, every club will feel aggrieved like we do today, and that's why we're passionate about it. But either there needs to be a better application of it. They can learn a lot from rugby, like Eamon said. They look at rugby. It's more complex. It's they make a decision in half the time over a much more complex situation. So they need to learn from it. I think, have they rushed it? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but it's something. The application of it needs.
But across Europe, though, Carl and Alan and Jonathan, it doesn't seem to have the same Hollywood effect. This is the point that I'm making. VAR has become Hollywood in the Premier League. It's all part of the Premier League circus now.
Yeah.
It's not the same in Germany. It's not the same in Spain. It's just not. So I just think that I agree with Alan. You do need to have some kind of review mechanism. But I mean, Jesus, do it the way the rugby guys do. Make it transparent. And you know what? It's a real insult to supporters to think that in this day and age that they can't talk out loud in case there's a riot in the stadium. I mean, what do they think football fans are?
Yeah.
You're
it's
right, shocking. Yeah. It's absolutely shocking, you know. And one last thing I want to say, I want to come back on Ozzy's point about Jorginho being bullied. He hasn't got the physicality not to be. But then Declan Rice needs to step in there and do something.
Yeah.
I mean, we're familiar with GAA over here. The Dublin team, I was a GAA player all my life, GAA and soccer. The Dublin team used to have a system. You can bully your best players, but somebody else is going to bully you. Horses for courses, Ozzy,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you that point.
Yeah, it was a very, I think on and all, Saturday's game it won't be remembered. It won't be one of the games that we remembered, There's been better games down the years between Newcastle and ours, and that one definitely won't be. It was just really scrappy, and again, VAR ridden.
It's just sparked a new rivalry. I think that's what it will do.
I think so, yeah. And that's what
Newcastle will be bigger games than ever.
Honestly, Ozzy, I think the 0-0 at the Emirates last year was the beginning of that rivalry. Like, that was a feisty game, as was the one that we won 2-0 up in James towards the back end of the last season. And that's okay. Rivalries are good.
Yeah, that's good. It is good.
But again, we've spent most of this show, instead of talking about a good blood and thunder game where there wasn't much goal-mouth action, but it kept us captivated, we spent most of the show talking about VAR yet again. And that proves my point, I think,
For football, it needs to change. No.
Yeah, because week on week, it just seems to be VAR, doesn't it, and the length of time it took for that decision for the goal is just ridiculous, like going through 3 different, like it's just... As Eamon said in a few shows, you have to wait. You can't even celebrate a goal because you're waiting for VAR to ruin it. It's just...
just on that, and when I say I feel cheated, I'm not the only one who spends money on going to games. Or if you can't go to games, you spend money buying a TV package or going to the pub or whatever. But what I mean is, I remember when Reece Nelson scored in the 97th minute against Bournemouth last year. And I went wild. And just in mid-celebration, I said to myself, shit, I haven't looked to see if this is VAR. It's just, it's taken away that experience. And that's why I'm saying I'm looking forward to going to see my beloved Bows against Pats on Sunday. And if a goal goes in and the referee allows it, he allows it. And not,
Yeah.
You get on with it. Get on with it. Yeah. I think there's only one way to sum it up before we move the conversation on. And I found the entire experience. Are you ready, Ozzy?
Yes, here we go.
So frustrating, Deirdre. That's me, Ken Barlow.
Yay.
Yeah, and that really sums up that game, to be honest, Eamon. It's never a better true word said. Yeah, look, it's just disappointing, isn't it? Like, we've had last season was the benchmark. We really had a good season. And this season, I don't think we've really we haven't kicked on yet. Like we're still finding our feet this season. So, and injuries, as he said at the start of the show, has hampered our first 10 games or so of the season. So, but in terms of Newcastle, since we have you on it, Alan, you must be very excited for this season, are you? You've had a great season last year, but it looks like you're kicking on again, doesn't it?
This is just, like, honestly, I'm a Newcastle fan my whole life. Like, everyone asks, how did you become a Newcastle fan? I had no choice in the matter. I was born into a Newcastle jersey. My uncle was a Newcastle jersey, Newcastle fan. Stuck a jersey on me the day I was born, and that is the end of it. Like, I've been to plenty of decent games. I've been plenty of championship games. This season, I got my first Champions League game, which was an absolute amazing experience. Won't even try to deny there might have been tears in my eyes and a lump in my throat when that Champions League music came on. I do think we're going to win the Carabao Cup, but I'm going to say it very quietly because we've never won anything in my lifetime. It's just getting better. I'm not looking into every season going, will we get 40 points? Are we going to scrape by again this year? Spent my whole life doing it. Well, I spent most of my life doing it. Like, I'm 30 years old. Spent 15 years going, will we get 40 points? Will we get 40 points? And now I'm looking at it going, Arsenal coming to St. James's Park. Yes, it's a tough game. Don't get me wrong. Take a point off Arsenal if they're coming to St. James's 9 times out of 10. But I would be, the only way I'd be disappointed is if you just had to come in and walked all over us. But I don't have that fear anymore. Don't get me wrong. City can do it to anyone. They're the benchmark team. Like, they could genuinely beat anybody on planet Earth 10-0. They are a different level.
I don't know. I think you're right. I think it's 1952 since Newcastle won a trophy, and I can recall, and that's not slagging off, like, for a club of its size. I was actually watching a documentary on YouTube from the 1970s, and it was a Larry McMenemy and others got talking about why is football in the Northeast so unsuccessful, given the passion for the game, the size of the clubs. And just in my lifetime, the 1974 FA Cup final, the 1976 League Cup final, you had the 1998 FA Cup final, you had the 1999 FA Cup final, and so on and so forth. It would be a massive thing for Newcastle to land a trophy. A Carabao Cup is well within their capabilities and grasp, and I think it would be a really exciting thing for the club. And I don't say this patronisingly, because I remember in '87 when we won the League Cup, it was the start of something great for the Arsenal with David Rocastle and Michael Thomas and Paul Davis, and with Niall Quinn and all that. It actually winning the League Cup in '87 won us the title in '89. I've no doubt about that. And it would be a huge thing for Newcastle. And relations in Wales End, by the way. It would be a huge thing if Newcastle United won a trophy for the club. It really would, There are people that, even when Newcastle are crap, you get into a taxi, you're going around the place, because I've been to James's many, many times. There are people that's very proud of their town, and it would mean so much to them. So, it would be a big thing, but I think it could be a springboard for a lot better. And that's what I think. That's why it's important,
Can I just say, I just love the way Newcastle have done things as well. I know we had a bit of banter about the Saudi money and everything, but what Eddie Howe's done there, he's not gone out and spent 200 million on a player like the City and just brought all these all-stars in. The type of player and the way Eddie's done it,
there's no Robinhos,
No, exactly. Full respect for him, the way he's done it and the way he's built that team. And they could have easily probably gone out and done a City, like I say, Robinho, and signing these 50, 60 million, and they haven't done that. And the way they play football, Saturday aside, let's put that to one side. I've got a lot of respect for Newcastle as a side. I think they're doing things right. Eddie Howe's a great manager. I think he'd be a great England manager. Someone did ask me actually at the weekend, which is a good question to pose to you guys. Would you take Eddie or Arteta? And my view is they're completely different managers and they're different fits. But I think Eddie for me is a future England manager, and I think he would do very well at it from being, from this side of the pond, I guess. But I think fair play to what Newcastle have done. Every Geordie I've met has been a legend. I've got a few mates that are Newcastle fans that I've met in different concerts and all sorts of all around. A season ticket holder, one's on his way to Dortmund now as we speak. So yeah, good on them for what they've done. And Saturday aside, I hope you get on all right.
On that, Eddie Howe has been amazing. He's already said he doesn't really see himself as an England manager because he's what he said was that's a part-time job. He's not a part-time manager. So I can see that. He might take it on as well as another job, but I can't see him doing it at Newcastle. For all the money we've took in, all the Saudi money, X, Y, and Z, our best signing, Dan Ashworth, director of football. Immense. He has changed the club from ground level to the senior team. We didn't have a women's team before the Saudis came in. We're now in the 3rd division of women's football. We didn't have, like, our under-21s team came 15th in the 2nd division, and we're in the Champions League. Now, obviously, because of the first team getting into it, but we've had to upgrade every single aspect of the club, and Dan Ashworth has done that for us. So he has been our biggest signing.
I think you can praise Dan Ashworth for that, but I wouldn't be espousing the Saudis' track record of egalitarianism, man, to be honest with you. So you have a women's team, but so long as they're all heterosexual, that's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like the Saudis' track record now of human rights and social justice wouldn't be my cup of tea, Alan, you know?
That's allowed. And come here, do not get me wrong. I 100% agree with you. Saudi Arabia, the rights over there, it's shocking. What can I do about who owns my football club?
No, I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with supporters at the club. What I'm saying is that I wouldn't be espousing the qualities of the Saudi Arabian ownership. I would be espousing the qualities of Dan Ashworth and what he's done at the club. I'm just drawing that distinction, you know.
Fly Emirates, the Emirates Stadium, all that money is definitely not coming through anything dodgy anyway either, is it? Every single club.
No, but you see, you can be immature and go tit for tat. I'm simply saying that you are on saying, oh, well, fair play, since the Saudis came on, we have a women's team. You have owners who don't tolerate gay people in their society. What I'm saying, I'm just making that point. But I do take hats off. So there's no need to get juvenile about it and then saying, but you.
Let's keep politics and football aside.
I would prefer if I never saw Fly Emirates on. Hold on. I prefer if I never saw Fly Emirates on an Arsenal jersey. I prefer if I never saw it.
But you do.
It's disgusting.
So yeah, but you've just said that I can't have that point of view when you made that exact point of view about my football club.
No, I didn't say you couldn't have that point of view. I said I wouldn't be espousing the quality of Saudi ownership. I just wouldn't be, right? No more than I'm espousing the quality of Emirates sponsorship. I just don't. It doesn't do it for me.
Okay, then. Amanda Staveley, we've the Reuben brothers, we've Merdad Gudusi. They're all part owners of our club as well. There's only one female director of a football club in the Premier League. And it's the Saudis who supposedly don't like women.
I'm talking about females. I'm talking about their intolerance to homosexuality. That's what I'm talking about.
How come they backed United with Pride with so much vehemence?
It's a criminal offence in their country.
They came out and said they're in the process of changing all these things anyway. And I understand that Saudi Arabian human rights, terrible thing. Don't get me wrong. Not saying it's a good thing. What I'm saying,
I suppose, let's nip it.
Once it's football,
politics and football. Let's talk football.
Whoever owns,
that's wrong though. Politics and
put money in where they want, regardless,
Politics is in football, and I'm going to tell you now, we're all smug with our Premier League and we think it's great. I'm telling you, there's going to be a Saudi move on the Premier League in the next 10 to 15 years when pretty much every club is going to be owned by Saudi. I'm telling you.
No.
I'm telling you.
Premier League, they won't let that happen. Who
won't let that happen?
The Premier League.
Let's move on anyway. Let's move on.
No, it won't. Look, it'd be different if Arsenal were owned as well. We'd see what attitudes change as well if billions were pumped in. But look,
I'll probably be assassinated tomorrow on the way into work. There you
go. Look out for aiming at the Bows St. Pat's match. Hung by a lamppost. No, look, it's great to see. Look, the league is just being pumped full of money, isn't it? Regardless of what club, all 20 clubs are being pumped in by someone. It's just a brand, isn't it? The Premier League, How far do you think you can go in the Champions League, Alan? Realistically, at the start of the season, I said I wanted a decent group stage. I'll be honest, I wanted that horror group. There's no point getting into the Champions League and getting the likes of Rubin Kazan and crap like that.
Right.
Wanted the hardest possible group, and I got it. Did I think we were going to beat PSG at home? I'll be honest, I put a bet on us to win 3-0 and Jamal Lascelles to score, but that's because I'm a psychopath. I didn't actually think it was going to happen, and we did. So we can get out of the group. It's very dependent on what happens tomorrow. If we don't, it's not the end of the world. If we finish third in that group and go into the Europa League, come here. The Europa League finals in the Aviva this year, so I'd be delighted.
Yeah.
Decent. That's all I want.
Yeah, it's exciting times under Eddie Howe, isn't it? Yeah. In terms of the league, Alan, do you think another top 4 finishes in? Is it realistic for Newcastle?
Yes, I do. But that's purely because Chelsea are going to fall off. Oh, well, not going to fall off. Chelsea have fallen off.
Yeah.
Man United are septic. It's a right because it's a top 5 this year. I was very worried that it was a top 4 is going to be tough, but it's the top 5 this year get Champions League. So I think it's going to be us, yourselves, City, City, Liverpool, and Spurs will get Champions League this year. And after that, it's a race for the rest. Like best of the rest, we'll do the rest of the Europa League and all that.
To be honest, I don't think Spurs have the squad to go through the whole season. I think they'll fall off. Your man Van de Ven is after pulling his hamstring during that Chelsea match. I don't think they've a good 11, but from after that, I don't think there's enough big enough squad.
Enough to get top 5. They've enough to get top 5.
I don't know, injuries to Son or Madison, and that could be the end of them. Even tonight, now they're being shown up for what they are. Shite. That's any Spurs fans can contact me through Dublin Arsenal. It would be a pleasure to talk to you.
Alan, have you ever seen quality like this show?
Right, lads. On that note, I've got to shoot. I've got to go.
See you, Ozzy.
I'll see you in a few weeks, yeah?
Alan, great to meet you, mate, and wish you all the best for the season, mate.
Cheers, Oz. Thanks.
Thank you, Eamon. See you,
Chelsea.
Take care.
See you in a few weeks, Ozzy.
So that wraps up a busy show for tonight's podcast. I'd just like to thank my regular guests, Eamon Donnelly and Carl Ozzy Osborne, who had to shoot off very quickly, but he will rejoin us in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully, for our Burnley review next week. I also like to thank Alan Williamson from the Irish Mags, the Irish Newcastle United Supporters Club, for coming on this week. I thought a really good show, plenty discussed, and I hope you enjoyed Eamon's rant. He's the new Mr. Meltdown here now. I also would like to end the show with I'm doing a 90k challenge for Breakthrough Cancer Research .ie. You can donate there. Any funds are welcome, no matter how big or small they are. Every little bit helps. And also our editor in chief, I like to call him, Martin Stumble, is doing the Movember challenge for men's health. Go to Movember.ie. Martin has the link at the start of the show, and Jordan the show as well, so you can donate there. It's a really good cause as well, and it highlights all of men's problems that we go through, aside from being an Arsenal fan. So Martin's grown the moustache there and it's coming along quite nicely. Also, as always, you can catch our show on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok and Facebook. Check out our sponsor, Bannon Sports Direct and Lucan Housekeeping Services. Thanks to them. Also check out our friends Pat McLaughlin and co at justarsenal.com and visit the River Bar in Dublin City Centre, where you can catch all the games, Premier League, Champions League and FA Cup. So until next week for a review of Burnley, it's thank you and goodbye.